Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. I'm PJ.
And I'm Mike.
And we're doing this through Zoom today. This is our first time doing a digital, off-site, remote podcast, so it might sound a little different, look a little different. Bear with us because we're just getting used to the technology, but we think we have it figured out. So we're going to talk about Comic-Con today, San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, 2023, folks. PJ went there on a mini vacation, so I'm curious to hear his journey there. I went to a local one here in Long Island. It's called the Eternal Con, which is at Hofstra University. So I got basically at a college campus. It was very nice. So, but PJ, we always start our shows off with a childhood memory. So my question to you, man, what was the superhero that got you into comics?
Mm-hmm. That's an easy one for me. If you see my Zoom behind me, my background, you see the Daily Planet. My favorite superhero and probably the first superhero I ever read a comic book for is Superman.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I always remember you as a kid. I think of you just with those colors, man. I think your first car, you actually had like the Superman.
I did. I had the Superman logo right on the hood. Yeah.
Yep, and you had it on the floor mats. I remember.
Yep. I think it was a Hyundai Accent. It was a red Hyundai Accent, and I put the Superman S all over that car. It was, and then after that, I got the PT Cruiser, and I put the Superman S on that too.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Oh cool.
Yeah, I have a history of getting red and blue cars so that I can make it a Superman car each time.
Right. Oh cool. And then for me, folks, Batman got me into comic books. 1989, Michael Keaton. Jack. That kind of obviously started. I was like. So I was about maybe 4 or 5 around there. Yeah. So yeah, it just became, after that it was just a snowball of comic book characters. And fun fact for our listeners, PJ was actually the first guy to actually get me comic books. That's my first. I still have them actually. So he gave it to me maybe in the 6th or 7th grade because I was at this time I already played with, I was into X-Men and Batman and Spider-Man and all that stuff. I said, I want to get into comic books, and PJ was the guy to go to back then. So he gave me like my first taste of comics. I think my collection is nowhere near PJ's. I think I have about maybe close to 100, but PJ has thousands. That's not exaggeration, folks.
We've been doing the math over at the store, and it looks like my personal collection that's being used to start up the new store is probably around 30 to 40,000 comic books.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So so PJ was very generous. He was very generous even as a kid. So he gave me about maybe 4 comic books. I still have them. I still have them in the plastics and everything. And they were all Batman actually. So actually one Justice League one. They were fighting Parallax and everything. So PJ, kind of tell us about your journey about San Diego Comic-Con 2023.
It was an interesting experience. I've gone to New York Comic-Con, which is probably, in terms of the amount of people that attend, the highest number of people attend New York Comic-Con.
Oh, okay.
And I go to that every year. But in terms of sheer volume and size of Comic-Cons themselves, San Diego is the biggest Comic-Con in the country. Right. I don't want to know about the world, but it might be up there for the world, too. It's huge. So we went 3 days. I was able to get tickets for 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. It was, you couldn't imagine just the spectacle of it all. There were so many people there. There was so much to see and do. We flew into San Diego on Wednesday so that we'd be there bright and early on Thursday and just spent the whole weekend, living in our comic book glory. It was an experience that it's tough to explain in words. Right. When we got there on Thursday, we lined up to get in the building. The Comic-Con didn't open until like 9 or 9:30. We lined up at like 6 a.m.
Wow. Quick question. Where is it? Like for those in New York, it's at the Jacob Javits Center. So is there like you go to like the Staples Center? There's
a San Diego Convention Center.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, it's a huge convention center. So that's where they hold it, and it fits.
Okay.
I mean, it fits so many people in that. It's way bigger than the Javits Center. So if you've been to the Javits Center, I feel like it maybe 2 or 3 of those. Like that's how big this place is. And so yeah, we got there. Like I said, our first day was Thursday. We got there at like 6 a.m. and we didn't get in until 9:30. So I thought we got there early. I thought getting there at 6 a.m. meant we gave ourselves plenty of time. Couldn't have been more wrong. There were people camping out from the night before to get in.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so we were close to the back of the line. You know what I mean?
So what's the goal of like getting there first? You get to work first in line to meet someone, or is that like what's the
So what a lot of people do at San Diego is they're hunting exclusives. Like there's all these different vendors and booths that have exclusive items for sale, whether it's comic books, action figures. Sometimes it's just like enamel pins. There's all sorts of different things, Funko Pops. And if you're not first in line, you're not guaranteed to get any of these things.
I gotcha.
A lot of booths will separate their inventory for a little bit each day. Some booths will just sell it, and once they're done, they're done. So there's no guarantee what you're going to be able to get. So that's the benefit of going early, is that you can rush to the booth you really want to get to. So if there's one thing you really want and you go online first and you run straight to that booth, you might be lucky enough to get this item.
Wow.
But that's really the benefit. The other reason people usually camp out early are for what they call the Hall H panels. Those are your big like Marvel movie panels or Warner Brother movie panels. None of those people obviously were there this year because of the strike.
Right.
So that did impact Comic-Con in as much as the floor was much more packed, because that convention center, the halls where they do those panels, can fit thousands of people. And now there's thousands of people that are normally watching a Marvel panel or whatever else have nowhere to go, so they flood the floor. So the place was packed.
Right. I got you.
There were times that you can't even get on a line for a booth because they say, sorry, the line is capped. You're not getting on this line. Come back in a few hours. Maybe they'll let you on. So there's a lot of just like waiting in line for hours just to be able to see or buy something. When I tell you hours, there was one thing we did. They have off-sites also that are outside the convention center. They call them activations. So if you've ever been to San Diego before, it takes over the whole like downtown Gaslamp area.
Wow.
The whole town.
Right.
It's not like it's just the convention center. It's the whole city. There are hotels or the buildings are wrapped and stuff for the decoration of it all. But then some of these places actually turn into part of Comic-Con. So one of the things we went to was an off-site for Interview with the Vampire.
Oh.
The AMC show.
Oh, okay.
So what they did was they took over a hotel. I don't know which hotel it was, the Hilton or something like that. And there's like you know how a lot of hotels have like an outside sort of sitting area, right? A concourse or something like that. They took it over, this whole section of the outside area of the hotel, turned it into New Orleans.
Oh.
That's where the show takes place. And I've only seen a couple of episodes of the show. I don't know if it's the 1800s, 1900s, whenever that show takes place.
Right.
That's what they make this section of the hotel look like. So we waited in line from roughly, I don't know, maybe 11, 12 o'clock to about 3:30, 4 o'clock. Hours. We spent hours on this line. And you walk in, and then you feel like you're in that TV show. They have actors talking with the New Orleans accent. They give you a shot of what they call blood, but it's not blood, right? It's like pomegranate juice, but it looks like blood. So you can feel like they tell you that's how you get to immortality. You drink the vampire's blood. Then they see like street performers, that you would have seen in old-timey New Orleans. So but we waited 3 or 4 hours to do it. That's like a half a day just to do one thing. That's how busy it is. You can't just walk into these things. If you're lucky enough, you might be able to score a reservation where you don't have to wait, but most people have to wait online.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, very immersive.
Yeah, very immersive.
Okay, cool. I guess my other question is, I guess look, I love comic books and all that stuff, and I love California, I love San Diego, I love LA. That's great. But like, what's like for me? Let's say I have to plan a trip there. I'm gonna go to, let's say, Universal. I'm gonna go,
right.
Magic Mountain, all those things. Like, what's like the cost to go? Like, is it like a 1 day? Like, I don't know if it's a 3 day weekend. Is it a 1 day? I'm sure they have different options, but
so the cost for Comic-Con it varies, right? So if you buy individual tickets, I think the cheapest day is like 30 or $40 for a ticket.
Okay.
The most expensive day is like $75 for a ticket.
Okay.
So we went Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So I want to say Thursday and Sunday might have been around $40 a ticket, and Friday was like 75-ish a ticket.
Gotcha.
If you're lucky enough to get all 4 days, it averages out to be a little bit cheaper than buying the individual tickets, because you can get a 4-day ticket, like one pass that's good for all 4 days. You get a little bit of a discount. Some people can actually, if you buy all 4 days, you get an option to a half a day Wednesday night, and then that'll bump up the price a little bit. So it varies, but between 40 and 80 a ticket is probably, if you're going to go for a single days, that's roughly the price for that.
Okay.
Some of those off-site things I was saying, like the interview with the vampire, you don't even need a ticket for Comic-Con. You can just line up if you're in the area. That stuff is free.
That's cool. Okay. Nice. Yeah. No, I'm just curious. I guess if you want to see those, I guess, specific panels, that's where it starts.
Right.
You want to get, which one is it, merchandise, so that's where it gets. Okay.
Yeah.
I just, like, I only went to local cons. I always want to get to Comic-Con, but they're sold out, right? I guess there's so many, you can't have the amount of people coming.
They're always sold out. So we got lucky. We won like a lottery to be able to get in and buy these tickets. And we were lucky enough to even get 3 days. Most people this is, like I said, the first time we went to San Diego, most people, when they go to San Diego for their first time, they only get like 1 day. But then once you've gone, you get to buy your tickets as a returning, whatever they call it, right? Returning guest or whatever. And then you have an option, a little bit easier, to buy tickets for the next year. Will I go back next year is a much different question. I'm leaning towards probably not. Not because it was a bad trip or anything like that, but the cost for Comic-Con maybe not that high, right?
Right.
For the two of us, it's not that bad. The hotels in the area jack up the prices, something terrible.
Yeah.
We got in, like I said, on Wednesday. We flew out on Monday. So what was that? 4 nights, 5 nights? Not a huge stay. Probably cost us over $2,000 for the hotel.
Right. Wow.
They jack up the prices that much. Flights to California are very expensive. So the cost of all of that, when you add in the cost of the tickets, the cost of your hotel, the cost of your flights, the food, all the stuff you buy, it becomes an extremely expensive 4 days.
Right.
If I lived closer and I was in San Diego, I think I would go back the same way I go to New York every year. But to fly across the country for it again and wait online for 4 hours again for a lot of stuff, I don't think I would do it. But I wouldn't discourage other people from wanting to go, because it is a good time.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the main thing, and some of our listeners, I'm sure they've been to maybe cons. Some of our listeners never been to, and they're kind of curious what it is. I'm just, so if, like, what's, like, besides, like, obviously there's a lot of booths and merchandise, like, what is there to do? It's just seeing people, seeing the cosplayers. I guess that's entertainment. That's free entertainment.
That's free entertainment. The cosplayers go all out. I put a couple of pictures up on our Instagram of some cosplayers people can scroll through. But really, it's about the panels to see what's coming up in comics and movies. Like I said, this year, obviously, no movies and TV. Usually they're there.
Right.
For me, I don't even go to those panels anyway. I would only do the comic book ones. That's what I'm interested in. So I went to some DC panels, and they talk about the upcoming storylines that are going to come out. They gave away some free swag at the panels, like free comics, pins, things like that. But it's mostly to go to these exhibitors and see the new statues, toys that are coming out, getting exclusives. That's really the whole thing. There was a very cool booth there for Star Wars, and they were promoting the new Ahsoka TV show that's going to be on Disney+. And they had stuff from the show there, like some of the droids, some of the props, like the lightsabers. It was a whole big display. I'm a Star Wars nerd, so obviously for me that's great. The Marvel booth, they had some of the costumes from, like, Guardians of the Galaxy there. Yeah. You can see some of the props from the movies, the costumes from the movie. The DC booth had the suit from the Blue Beetle movie that's going to be coming out, the Aquaman suit. So there's stuff like that. All these big displays of things you can see. I mean, there's tons to look at. If you're into comic book culture, there's tons and tons there. You'll never see everything in one trip. If I went there all 4 days and spent all my time just trying to look at things, I couldn't see everything in 4 days.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I gotcha. So, dude, what's, like, the average, like, age that people go to this? Because I don't really picture families. I mean, the local ones I go to, they could be a little bit less expensive. You might see a family. Maybe they'll bring their, what's, like, the age range here?
I saw infants in carriages that couldn't even walk yet, all the way up to one of my favorite people that I saw. Guy must have been in his mid 80s, I think. He was an older man. He was dressed up like Adam West Batman,
Oh, that's perfect.
and he was, like I said, an older dude. And he crafted like not like glove, but like attached to his glove, and it said like "Bam Pow," and he would
Right.
pose with people and
Oh,
pretend to
that's
punch
cool.
them,
Oh
and then it
yeah,
would
yeah.
have the "Bam Pow" in the picture. And like I said, that guy must have been in his 80s. He looked like to me. So the range is there from very very young to not so young at all. I would say this is probably going to get hate mail, right?
Eh.
I don't think people should bring their kids. Um, it's in my opinion, and I
I
know
was gonna say that's why I feel like these cons are really for like maybe like late teens, maybe like 16, 17 to like I feel like their meat and potatoes is maybe to 30s, maybe. I don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, I get why
Early
people
30s.
bring their families and all that. It's fun for everyone, but I mean, you're trying to walk around a very crowded convention center, thousands and thousands of people, and then you have just giant baby carriages and little kids. And look,
But I feel like a little kid would be bored though. I mean, like they
I
could be
would think
fun,
so
but
too.
there's no rides there. There's no
Yeah,
like, you
I
know,
would think so too.
you
I
know.
think those kids are there because the parents want to go and they have nothing else to do with those kids. I
Right.
don't think it's a trip for a small kid. I almost feel like one, it's dangerous because there's thousands of people not looking out for little kids. They
Yeah.
could get trampled. Two, I don't see why a kid would find it fun because at that young of an age, you don't care enough about comic books or even the movies
Right,
to
or
really
just
want to.
even their attention span. Like that could be
Right.
fun for maybe like I'm talking about like maybe elementary,
Yeah.
maybe middle school. Like you might have an X amount of time. Maybe like I can't see a little kid wait online for 4 hours to
Right.
It's just
And then
not
like
the.
some of
I
it,
just
you got to wonder how
it's
appropriate
curious.
is it. Like Interview with the Vampire is not appropriate for a little kid. So why would you make that kid wait 4 hours on that line? Or they had one thing we didn't get a chance to do it, but it was an NBC had their own activation, and it was based off of Quantum Leap. But basically, if you've never seen Quantum Leap, he kind of jumps into different scenarios and realities or whatever, and he jumps into Law and Order. And the whole thing is you're walking through Law and Order SVU looking for clues. You're going to take a little kid on something where it's based on that kind of crime. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
I honestly don't think it's a trip for kids. Although there were hundreds of, if not thousands, of little kids there. I don't see
Not
how
worth it. Sounds like it's not really worth
I don't
it
think
to
it'll be
bring
worth
the
it for them.
kids. Too young anyway. Maybe
I think so.
teenagers and everything. I
Yeah.
guess my last question about, like, as I went to local cons, do they? I'm just like they're in the profit of making money. These places. Do they have like? I'm sure they have food trucks. Are you allowed to have serve beer there? That kind of stuff, or no?
So I didn't see any food trucks or things like that. They had like food courts in the convention center.
Okay.
But the thing is, once you leave the convention center and you walk into like San Diego in that gas lamp area, all
Right.
of the
So,
restaurants
right. Okay.
are themed for Comic Con at this point. They have Comic Con menus. So we went to a few restaurants there, and they had specific like comic book themed food that they wouldn't normally sell. So that's kind of how you're getting your food. The NBC they that made that Quantum Leap activation
Yeah.
took over a restaurant right there, and they called it I don't know if it was the Quantum Cafe or the Quantum
Right.
something or other, and it became a Quantum Leap themed menu for the weekend. There was a little pop up like bar across the street. They had beers and stuff you could buy there, but they also had comic books for sale in there. So they take over that whole area. So that's where
Okay.
you get.
So right. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
So I guess before I talk about the con I went to, I'm just curious. Any exclusive information that you went to the con? Anything up and coming that would
I mean, if you're into the comic books, I went to a couple, like I said, those DC comic panels, and they had some really interesting stuff to say what's coming out in their future comic books, like a new Batman storyline called Gotham War. I think they said it's going to be called, or there's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pike for actual comic books that often gets overlooked because everyone talks about the movies instead of the actual comics.
Sure.
But they're going to be doing some real cool stuff in both DC and Marvel. For me, I think it's a great time to be a comic fan, seeing what's coming out. I mean, I know it's not as cool or as flashy as the comic book movies, but the actual comic books themselves, have a lot of real fun stuff going on and coming out.
And you said it was kind of compromised experience because with the the writers strike, the actors strike, they couldn't even come to these panels, right?
Yeah, they couldn't be there. The comic book writers could be there, and those are the writers I was more interested in anyway. So for me, it didn't change what my experience would have been because I would have skipped the movie panels anyway. But for a lot of people that go there to see like the big Marvel release, what's the next Marvel movie, and all those teasers, they weren't there, and I think that bummed a lot of people out.
Yeah. And PJ, correct me if I'm wrong, just about Comic-Cons in general. I don't know when they started, maybe late 80s, early 90s, I don't know. You would know better. But is it, when we think of Comic-Con now, we think about this whole thing. It's like a whole marching band is there. But it used to be just about comic books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That was it. There wasn't all this, I'm sure people dressed up to a certain degree. Maybe they were.
But it wasn't like it is now.
No way.
The first comic book convention I went to was in the city. I think it was at, I forget where it was. It was a hotel. It was right across.
What year? Do you remember what year?
I was young. I don't even know if we were in high school yet.
Oh wow, okay.
Either that, or if we were in high school, we were only in 9th grade, 10th grade. But I don't even think I think it was actually earlier than that. And I went with my dad because I was a kid. Who else was I going to go with? And it was right across the street from Penn Station. I forget the hotel, but it was right there. And it was nothing like this. It was basically in the ballroom of a hotel.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. That was the whole thing.
It was just comic books, right?
It was just comic books and some vendors selling toys and we did get to meet Adam West there.
Okay.
They did have special guests like that, but even then, like Adam West was not a huge star anymore.
He was almost like a has-been, and then now with the resurgence, he revitalized a lot of those people.
Yeah, but at that time, you're right. He was a nobody. He was like a has-been. He was there with Burt Ward, and I think Frank Gorshin might have been there. And I was able to meet him. I got his autograph. It was very cool. But that was like the biggest star there. If your biggest star there was Adam West in the 90s, like what are we really? Not a very big star. And I think the other person that I saw there was Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Right.
Like they had some old, just has-been wrestlers. There was not a big movie, TV presence or anything like that. Because there really weren't comic book movies or TV shows at that point either.
It had become a phenomenon,
yeah.
So, very cool, PJ. All right. So PJ, I want to kind of tell you my experience about Eternal Con. So,
sure.
Folks who are listening, that's, PJ and I are the Cool Kids Lunch Table is based in Long Island, New York. So, I'm sure I'm assuming every state must have their own kind of Comic-Con. Whether maybe at their local college or whatever it is, or convention center. But this is at one of our colleges here. It's at Hofstra University at their, I guess their sports center, and they turned it into sports complex kind of thingy, and they turned into this. So it was like $30 to go in. It was my brother, and I went with my nephew who's about 12. So I think it was like $30 for each of us,
Okay.
But yeah, it was. So I'll just give folks what it was like. So like there's like 2 floors. So the top floor was like, they call it like Artist Avenue. That's where you have like all the artwork, and you have local artists with their own thing, and they have like funny I don't know what they call it. I guess it's like wacky art where you'll have like they'll draw like Darth Vader, and he'll be like on the toilet bowl and be like use the force. He'll be like, obviously trying to push out a turd. But like they have like those kind of funny kind of things, custom or artwork, and then in the bottom floor, I guess is where you have like all like the comic books, the T-shirts, all that kind of stuff. And the bottom floor they had the Batmobile. That we spoke to the guy, took a picture with it, my brother and my nephew. He said it's actually the one from I think Batman Returns. He said so.
Really? Yeah, that's awesome.
He had Michael Keaton's autograph on it. Oh my God, I can't think of his name. The guy who played Harvey Dent in '89, that one, Billy D. Williams.
Oh, Billy D. Williams, yeah.
And I think he might have had Michelle Pfeiffer sign it too. But
awesome.
Yeah, that was really sick. When I went to the Warner Brothers studio tour in California, they have a warehouse of all the Batmobiles and because there's Batmobile A, B for certain shots. You have your ones that look your showpiece, the one for the nice shots, and ones for action scenes. So this guy didn't really get into it with us, but I'm assuming it's probably one of the B or C cars. But it was immaculate. It was really nice. So, but
my favorite Batmobile is actually the one from Batman Forever.
What?
Yeah, I like the Batman Forever Batmobile. I think that's underrated. I love that Batmobile.
I can't get into those. My favorite ones are 89, and then I love the Tumbler from Dark Knight. I love those two. Those are my favorites. But yeah. And so anyway, at the downstairs of this con, they have, I call it Celebrity Row. So this is where you have like basically just from $40 to maybe more, 75. You get either an autograph or you get a selfie or both for a combined price. So some of the folks who were there was the Big Show, the wrestler. Some of these people I don't know their names. She's older now. The little girl from Neverending Story,
Okay, yeah.
Who, like pets the dog dragon thing. You had Gabriel from Walking Dead.
Wow.
Yeah. He was. I didn't realize those. I guess with television and movies, I mean, they do this purposely to make them look taller, or I know his character. He played a priest, so he wasn't being this intimidating factor. But
right.
He was pretty short guy, because I'm short. He was must have been maybe 5'7", 5'8". Oh my God, on screen he looks very much taller.
A lot of these actors are not as larger than life as they appear.
Yeah.
Except for Big Show, who I've seen in person. He's a giant man.
He was huge, folks. This guy was so tall that when he sat down, he was the same height. I was eye level with him. I didn't get his autograph, but I mean that's how that guy's 7 feet tall. So he was huge.
He's gigantic. He's a big dude.
Huge. I don't know the actor's name. I apologize. He was in Fantastic Beasts. He plays I guess the Muggle. He has no wizard powers.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He's the love interest for the girl with the red hair.
He's the best guy in the movie. Doesn't he own a bakery or something like that?
Yeah. He's very charming. So he was cool, and I forgot he was in The Walking Dead too. But I didn't. He was there. I don't know this actor's name, but he's in Pulp Fiction. He was the one when he's the one who gets shot when Samuel Jackson says his speech, and he oh, look at the brains. Oh, look at the brains on Brad. It was Brad. Think about it now. And he was also in Career Opportunities with Jennifer Connelly. He plays that character. I used to love that movie as a kid, and I think that movie got a resurgence because if you go on YouTube, you look up the song Space Love Song by A Flock of Seagulls. Someone edited that movie to that song, and it has millions of views. It's an awesome song. Check it out, folks. And that ending is great. Jennifer Connelly, she's beautiful. He was a good looking dude back then. And still is, I should say, because I saw him in person. So, yeah. So, and I think the guy who, I mean, you had guys from the Warriors, you had the movie, not the basketball team, and some Star Trek guys that are from TOS. He was very old. I don't know his name. God bless him. But I think the guy who had the longest line for sure was Brett Spiner. He played Data from Star Trek.
Yeah, he's a popular guy at these cons.
So, yeah.
The guys from the Warriors, I've seen them at other cons. It's usually the same two guys that show up. And they charge a ridiculous amount of money to meet them. And I know they're there to make money, but on some of these guys, they have to... Look, I like that movie. It's a cult classic.
Yeah.
But they got to know who they are. They got to be a little more realistic. I would not spend the amount of money. They were looking for it. When the last time I saw them, which was years ago, they were looking for $50 or $60 just for an autograph. More if you wanted a picture. And it's no one cares about you that much to want to.
Yeah, that's you. I was just about to say some of these stars, I actually wanted some of their autographs to take a picture, but it was just way too much. I'm gonna be like, look, I'm not. Like you said, you're not worth that. I'm gonna be like, look, maybe $20, I might have done it.
Right.
You'll increase your volume. There's let's say there's 300 people there. I'm sure most of the people would have just done, oh, it's the guy from Pulp Fiction, or it's the guy from the Warriors. What's at this point, what's $20? It's 50, 60.
It's crazy.
No way.
when I went to New York Comic Con last year, I got a photo op with Tom Welling and Erica Durance, Lois and Clark from Smallville, and I think I paid a little over $100 to get a photo op with two people who had a much bigger impact than the guy from the Warriors, and for it to only be double the price of meeting the Warrior guy, the Warrior guy's got to really take a step back. Look, I'm not saying he's probably a nice guy.
Yeah,
the movies were fun, but know your worth a little bit. That's like me going to charge someone $50 to meet me. Who am I? It'd be the same thing.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So, and that's funny because that leads us to my next thing because I got in trouble, PJ. I got in trouble at con. So I was look, I was taking pictures. I was taking pictures. My nephew, there was an Ecto 1 there, like an SUV version. Taking a picture of the Batmobile. All kinds of crap. And so I was, there's all these celebrities in front of me. And look, I swear when I say this, I didn't like run up to them and took a quick selfie. I didn't do that. I didn't be like a paparazzi. I was just taking I'm like, this wasn't like, look, you're at a convention. I paid to come in there. They're not like eating dinner somewhere and I'm being disrespectful. I didn't, so dude, this girl, the security guard, this woman was going to tackle me. She's like, sir, I'm like, oh my God, citizen's arrest. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, you can't do that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. I wasn't like I said, I didn't run up to these people and right. I was like, dude, I was maybe like 30 feet, from them, like 3 basketball poles back, and these were like just, like ones you would take like if you're at a Yankee game, just taking the crowd, but the funny thing is, PJ, though, here's the thing I don't get. So I wasn't allowed to do that. I wasn't like taking hundreds of each person. I'm not gonna lie, I did get to sneak a couple in, but at that point the woman was watching me like a hawk. I'm like, there's other people. Look, I'm not the biggest threat here, okay? I'm here with my brother and my nephew. We're like walking around, farting around, But anyway, but these same stars, dude, on the top floor, there's also a panel stage where you talk and you can answer questions. They didn't bother if you took pictures then. I want to be like, what was the difference? So
and it's not the stars that care. It's their handlers that make a big deal about it because the handlers know that's where the income is and they make a big fuss. When I was walking through San Diego, and I didn't take a picture with them, although I probably could have if I asked. I saw Mark Bernardin, and Mark Bernardin is a writer and he does podcasts and he does a podcast with Kevin Smith that I listen to called Fat Man Beyond. But only that, he writes a lot of TV shows that I like. So I saw him and I knew who he was, and he was just walking around the con. So I stopped him. I'm like, "Oh my God, you're Mark Bernard. I'm a big fan. I like the shows that you've written for." He wrote for some Star Trek shows. There was a show, and I love the show, and I can't think of the name of it right now. It was on Hulu, where it was based on some Stephen King movies and books.
Yeah.
And so I saw the guy, and I just stopped him and be like, "Hey, I'm just a fan. I appreciate your work." Right? He was just, like I said, walking down an aisle. And if I would have asked that guy for a selfie right there, he would have turned around and taken a selfie, and he probably wouldn't have thought twice. He was very friendly.
Right.
And I am sure if he was sitting at his table or his booth and I tried to just snap a picture of him, the same thing would have happened. It's the handlers, because if that's exactly the handlers get paid probably based on how much money these guys are making, so they don't want you to get a free picture.
Right. But I wasn't even walking up to a table to take a photo. Like that was these are just like random candid shots. Like I'm never gonna get, like we said, I'm not gonna pay to get the Warriors. Like this is that was it. But Pete, let me ask you this question though. I'm just curious about this. Maybe I feel like you would know. So, sir, I understand like maybe like they're not allowed to wear like I don't expect Brent Spiner to come in dressed up as Data. I understand that. However, sometimes I'm like I don't know, wouldn't you want to like somewhat be in, like dressed in like in character? Like so, for instance, last year when I went to this, the Pink Ranger was there. Amy Jo Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect her to come out in her Power Rangers regalia, okay?
Right.
But you think maybe she wear like a pink T-shirt? Like I don't know. So like some of these guys, I just feel like. I don't know. For me, if I was like, I don't know if it's like the studio says you can't pose with like even like you can't wear a Star Trek shirt or something. Maybe they have a rule.
I think it's really up to the person. Jason David Frank, rest in peace, Green Ranger.
Yeah.
He went to almost every Comic-Con in the world, and what he would do is he would be at his table, and he would have the helmet with him, right?
Right,
Maybe have a Green Ranger helmet.
Like prop.
And then if you signed up for and you paid for his photo op, right? If you were going to pay him to take a picture with him, he would come in his full Ranger outfit.
Okay, all right, so
and he would have the helmet off, and you could hold the helmet in the picture, and he would take a picture with you, or so he'd be in the suit minus the helmet. So some of the performers and some of the actors and stuff will do that.
Right.
It really depends on the person.
Right. Like I said, I'm not asking them to dress up in their full, wear makeup and do special, all that kind of stuff. I just, some of these people, like, looks like they just rolled out of bed. You know what I mean? Looks
Yeah,
like
a lot of the wrestlers will
they
bring
combed
like the replica belts. Like if you were to go and meet, I don't know, Billy Gunn or something like that, he might have like a tag team title with them. A lot of the wrestlers will do stuff like that. Some of the Power Rangers bring their helmets or the morphers and things like that. And then some of them, they just show up in the,
But some of these, I don't know, like I said, I want to pick on. Maybe they had a long flight here. I don't know. It looks like they combed their hair with the grenade. It's just like, like I was like, what the, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know, like at least maybe wear like a collared shirt or I don't know,
it's funny because you always feel like these actors should have like these larger than life personalities, but a lot of the time if it's not a script and they're not told what to wear, they're just like,
Yeah, no, I don't know. I was just curious. I guess I'm breaking balls.
Kevin Smith is pretty good with that because if you take a picture with him, a lot of the time he'll be in like the Silent Bob coat.
Yeah.
Like there are people that do, I guess, kind of understand that the reason you're there to meet them is because of this role. So let me somehow bring that to the picture.
Yeah.
The guy who plays Data, like if you're not Data, you're just a dude.
No, he was. I'm not picking on him. Yeah. He was fine. Like he wore like a nice collared shirt. I'm talking about the other people there, and they look like they got shot out of a cannon. I mean, I was like, what happened here? You know what I mean? But anyway, I remember one year I went. They had Sonya Blade there, not the girl, that Bridget Wilson from the movie. They had the girl for the video game, like when they used to do body scan, like they used to whatever they do, Photoshop even to the game. But she was God bless her. She looked exactly, she looked beautiful. She was in great shape. But anyway, she was in her full Mortal Kombat gear. But I want to tell you these two other quick stories about this thing. So I'll start with this one. So my nephew, he bought some nice artwork. I gotta say, he has good taste for a little guy. He bought actually Scorpion, like this poster of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Actually, it was really nice. Nothing violent. It's just like kind of like almost like a portrait of him.
Right.
And then he bought, I think you would like this. He bought Rocky 4. It was, Rocky punching Drago. Really nice. But anyway, so there's different booths. So you ever say, I don't know what they're called, but like those hologram things where it's like when you look at it one angle, it could be like actually, it could be like maybe Batman, all of a sudden he's punched him, or if it's like, maybe it's, Superman, look one way, you see his face, next face that has like glasses on. Mm-hmm. So there's one with Harley Quinn, right? I'm like, oh, this is cool. So, dude, I walk up to this thing, and I'm like, oh, it's cool. Look more like the like maybe the video game version, of her. And so I'm like, this one angle, she's like, she's got the the mallet, looks like she's about to swing. So I look from a different angle, she's topless. Dude, I couldn't control myself,
Amazing.
I don't know, I was just completely, and then my nephew, and he was like blushing, but, the three of us and my brother, dude, I don't know why I thought that was, because it was like, it wasn't like, I was not prepared for this, I just thought that was great, and I remember the vendor guys, they were getting a kick out of us, but I didn't take a picture of that or anything, but I thought that was really funny, man, because I was like, wow, because to tell you the truth, boy, my nephew, he was looking at it. That's how we discovered it. But he wasn't doing it because they're being appropriate. Because we were just, he likes Harley, he likes Batman a lot. So we didn't. I don't know. Maybe she's gonna smash Batman's head or Robin's head. I don't know. So, dude, when we moved it to a different angle, it was like perfect comedy, and like there was no warning, or it wasn't like in an X-rated section or anything like that. So anyway, that was.
I have a similar story like that. I was at New York Comic-Con. And I don't remember the name of this booth at all, but it was kind of funny. I always go to the artist sections also. I like to buy the art. Or even if I don't buy it, I like to look at it. And I'm just going in and out of these booths. And there was this one booth, and it was a little bigger than the rest. You actually had to walk inside. It wasn't just like a table. You actually had to walk inside of the booth that they set up. So I'm like, all right, I'll walk around. I go in there, and it's run by these two gay dudes who are in there. And all the art that they drew, were all the dude superheroes.
Right.
Just like, Superman railing Lex Luthor, like Batman and Robin, just like not doing the things Batman and Robin usually do. Robin was definitely, going down the bath hole is what I could say on the.
He went to the back.
Like, what did I just walk into? And the people that ran it were like the nicest people, and I actually spoke to them for a while. They were very entertaining.
Right? Yeah. No. Yeah.
I'm just like, what on earth? Like, you just don't expect it.
Right. Well,
It's like another reason why I say maybe Comic-Con shouldn't have all these little kids walking around.
Well, dude, I'm just gonna have in my
outside,
notes.
it just looks like a regular artist drawing superhero comics.
So that's a great segue, because I was going to say too, one of the things about Comic-Con is, which any con you go to, is got to be the cosplay. Some people are so creative. One guy came out as like Venom, and he had like these two dummies of like two Spider-Man, like one from one universe, one from the other. But he was like dragging them around. I think I killed them. I saw some awesome ones, but some of this stuff is like you said, like some of this is not child. Like some of these girls, like, not that I'm walking around like a horn dog, but they're basically wearing thongs.
They're wearing nothing.
I'm like, part of me feels like some of these people, I'm like, maybe there's a different convention for that stuff in Vegas. I think obviously, and guys too. Some guys were basically in like, and their underwear too. Like, I'm not offended. I enjoy the spectacle. I would love to dress up at these things. The problem is, like, I don't feel like dressing up for hours. Like, I would definitely do face paint. I would love to paint my whole face. I love Halloween. I always paint my head and all this other crap. But I don't feel like walking around in the middle of the summer with all this crap with millions of people. Which leads me to my next thing. It's like those memes. People got to bring deodorant.
Oh my God.
Pooh. Yeah. They had this one section of like video games, right? So my nephew wanted to play. I'm like, all right. I think it was like Marvel versus Capcom. So, dude, these guys next to us, dude, I thought my brother was gonna vomit. Like, and I didn't want to like almost be rude. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't want to be like, pooh. So I must have like. My nephew's actually very good at video games, but I was like, I'm like. I guess it wasn't bothering him. He smelled it, but like, I'm like, dude, I gotta get out of here. So I'm like, look, man, look, whoever wins this match, we gotta get out of here. So I beat him as fast as I could in that game. I think it was the fastest I've ever beaten. He usually beats me now, but I was owning him just to get out of there. But it reeked. But I mean, like, the whole spectacle. That's what you go to Comic-Con to. It's probably all the time. Like, it's fun meeting new people. You see people, they're dressed provocatively. That's a part of the charm. That's what makes it fun too. Is to see all these wacky people are just great characters themselves. They're characters, man. They're comic book characters. They're like comic book characters come to life. Just the personalities.
It's a good excuse to wear a mask, like the stank of some of these people. When I went to New York Comic Con, the first Comic Con back after COVID.
Yeah.
The best part of the mask was it blocked out the smell of some of these people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's. Because there's a million people and everyone is sweating, and it's just the stank is unbelievable.
Yeah. But it was good. Like I said, I saw a lot of great costumes. It was funny, man. A lot of like I said, a lot of skin. I saw on both sides. And so, but it definitely makes it a fun time.
Don't you want to ask, like, aren't you cold? Like, the air conditioner's on, you're not wearing anything.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Or just like some of these people, I see like the guys in the men room. Some of these guys are wearing like either nothing, or some were just wearing like I saw a lot of people on their cars. They had like a zipper, by their crotch, which was small. I'm like, that's a great idea. Because some of these people got wings. They got they got all this kind of contraptions on them, but. Yeah, it was good. So folks, if you have one in your town, go to it, check it out. It's just,
it'll be a great time.
It's like imagine Halloween meets like, I don't know, like almost like New Year's Eve when the ball's about to drop and everyone's like a pandemonium. That's the best way to describe it, And it's like almost like maybe like Easter too. You're finding all these like goodies and Easter egg kind of things.
It's always a great time. I always, like I said, I always go to New York Comic Con at the Javits. I only ever missed 1 year. I've been going since that con started. The only year I missed was the year I got married. We happened to get married that weekend. And I couldn't go. That's the only time I've ever missed a New York Comic Con. It's a spectacle. It's a show, but it's fun.
Great. Mm-hmm. So, folks, before we cut loose, and thanks for listening, PJ, tell us some updates about your store real quick. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going good. I posted a little video the other day. I'm not sure if everyone saw it. It's on our Facebook. But we're sorting through all the comics. Like I said, we found about 30,000-ish in the collection that we're going to be selling. So we're sorting through them. After we record today, our podcast, I'm going to go back over there and and continue to sort them. They're getting put in alphabetical order. The building itself, the renovations that we had to do in the store, those are all done. Walls are all painted. Yeah, it's coming along pretty good. We found some cool comics in there. I found an Invincible #1. I don't know if you watched the cartoon on Amazon Prime. It's great. That's one of my favorite comic books that have ever come out. Like usually the big superhero books come from Marvel and DC, but Image knocked it out of the park when Robert Kirkman, same guy who does Walking Dead, created this character Invincible, and it's one of my favorites of all time. And I found that I forgot I even had that book in my collection, so that was that was cool. It's a little bit of reliving my youth, setting the store up, because I'm going through all my old toys and comics to set everything up, and it's just like I remember when I bought these things. I remember the storylines, the covers, and I found one comic book. I had written a letter to DC, and they published it in the back of one of the comic books.
Oh.
And I found that book. So I'm just, like I said, we're just sorting through all the books right now. It's a labor of love, but it's coming along. I'm hoping to have a lot of this done within the next week or two, and have an idea of maybe when we could really open after that. So I'm thinking sometime in September for opening, but maybe if we get lucky, end of August, but probably September.
Fantastic. Very exciting. So yeah, so folks, we have a lot of things coming up for the Cool Kids Lunch Table. PJ has the store, and we have a lot of in the future some special guests that we're gonna have on the show. So thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it, and check out our past episodes too. If you go to our our Podbean, that's where we kind of host our show. So yeah, check it out. Our Back to the Future episode, if you're really into that.
Yeah.
And we talk about another episode. We talk about Ninja Turtles. So if you're into this comic book kind of stuff, check out our past episodes, and you'll definitely enjoy it.
And give us your thoughts. Comment on. Go to our Instagram page. We have a post for every new episode. So drop us a comment or two, or on our YouTube also. We post there. Let us know what you think of the episode. Let us know if you agree with what we're talking about. If you have a Comic-Con experience, let us know what your Comic-Con experience is.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. So, folks, you know where to find us. Same time, same table.
Have a great weekend.